been giving this a bit of thought over the past few weeks about how to demonstrate just how unique the Stylophone GenR8 is when compared to other similarly priced synths. And after a lot of to and fro, I thought the Behringer WASP clone and the original Minibrute are two other quite distinct synths that have got quite strong characters of their own and are unique in their own way. They all cost around £300 and they're all pretty simple, but they've got different functions, and as I say, each has got its own distinct tone. They've all got multi-mode analog filters that'll do low pass, band pass, high pass and notch. The Wasp's got two oscillators, sort of an analog digital hybrid really. The Stylophone's got two oscillators that are sort of really unique and just got sort of two waveforms and various subs on them. And the Arturia's just got one oscillator, but you can blend between the waveforms, plus it's got a sub. The Wasp's basically got a single LFO on this control oscillator here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different waveforms, including noise and random. But on its enhanced oscillator, which is essentially PWM, has a slightly different speed of an LFO. So they're not controlled by this LFO, as I say. They're controlled by their own LFO with a fixed rate. So let's just put an enhanced mode on. You can see that moving. If we go onto the second oscillator, slightly different speed, and if we put them together, you can see the sort of moving at different speeds, which is a nice touch. The Arturia, although it's only got one LFO, it's got a vibrato LFO as well, so really two LFOs. So the vibrato is for doing pitch. So let's put that on to, and that's not the same rate as the main LFO. So say it's got one, it's really got two, and it's got a third LFO with this ultra saw rate as well. So you've got the ultra saw rate, you've got the vibrato rate, and you've got the main LFO. So a lot more flexible than it looks at first. Envelope wise, the Wasp's got two envelopes, one for the VCA, one for the VCF. And quite unique, and you got attack, decay, sustain, and the decay doubles up as release, a bit like the Minimoog, but you've got a loopable function here. If we just switch that to a click, it's looping, so a bit like another LFO. And you've got a loopable function on the VCF filter. This one's got a delay before the attack, so I'll just show you that quickly. Oh man, that's looping. So although I said it's only got one LFO, what it calls a control oscillator here, and the two individuals on the PWM, it does really have two more LFOs using the envelope generators. The Stylophone's got a single ADSR envelope, but you've got a one-shot mode on the LFO, so the one-shot mode on the LFO can work as an envelope as well. Let's put this on a ramp, put it onto filter. And put it on one-shot mode. Slow the speed down. So that's the filter being modulated by the LFO in a single shot mode, so as I say, acts a bit like an LFO. Well, it does act like an envelope. So both quite unique, both quite distinct, and the Minibrute's got two ADSR envelopes, so a bit more sort of standard, one for the filter, one for the amplitude. But it's also got an envelope speed switch, you can have fast or slow envelopes. So again, none of them are standard, are they? Stylophone and the Minibrute have both got sequencers. The original Minibrute came with an arpeggiator, but you can upgrade the firmware to change it to a sequencer if you want, as was put on the later models. The sequencer on the Stylophone is really basic, but it's also got a drive circuit. The Minibrute's got this brute factor control, which is like a feedback bringing in, like you did on the Minimoog, bringing in the headphones back in through the external input. Let's try and get something sort of vaguely sensible. And the manual says this is a diode clipping overdrive circuit designed for synthesizer so you don't lose low end. Let's take this off. Pretty nice. And the Stylophone's also got an analog style delay. So I thought I'll put the three of them together. I voted the Stylophone as my synth of the year last year, and that's just because of its uniqueness. And if you watch the Bow Beats end of year 2019 roundup, you'll have seen that. You'll have seen me talking about why I chose it, and it really is because of its uniqueness. And people have questioned me on that, and questioned the fact that it was £300. So I thought a couple of other synths, £300, with their own unique sort of distinct characters. Let's just take a quick look, or a quick listen even. So I'm not going to go into too much depth here, but let's have a listen to the oscillators and the filter and just have a little play around with them. So should we start off with a single oscillator on a sawtooth? Take the repeat off. Really difficult to play that one. So you can hear straight away they've got their own sort of sound. I really like the way the Stylophone sort of buzzes around a bit, doesn't it? And if you look at the oscilloscope, you see it doesn't seem that stable, but I like that. Whereas the Wasp, really, really stable, as is the Minibrute. Not going to attempt that on this. Let's have a go. So, you know, a sawtooth's a sawtooth. Let's just go over to the square next. Sounds completely different, doesn't it? There we go, 50%. Mad how different they are. And then this. That doesn't look... It's not very square at all, more like a pulse. Look at the shape of that. And that's sort of where the similarities end on the, if you can call them similar. Because if we go to the Wasp, as I say, we've got PWM. We've got PWM over here on the Minibrute. This is the amount. And this is the rate. Can't adjust the rate on the Wasp. And on the Stylophone you don't have PWM at all. But what you have on the Stylophone is a sub. So that's the square or the pulse with a sub. And then the square with a I think it's 2 octaves below sub. Look at those wave shapes, crazy. And if we go over to the sawtooths on the Stylophone, what you notice is that you've got a sawtooth plus a sub plus a 2 octave below sub. Manual calls it a sub-sub, and then all three together. So if we had the second oscillator, that's fat, isn't it? We've essentially got 6 oscillators playing. Minibrute, with only having a single oscillator, can't do anything like that. But what the Minibrute can do, on the sawtooth, we have an ultra saw. And that's the ultra saw rate I mentioned earlier. A bit like PWM, isn't it, of a sawtooth? Plus we've got a triangle. And the triangle's got this metallizer, which is a bit like a wave shaper. Let's turn the rate off for a second. So all sorts of madness there. And as you saw, we can modulate that with the LFO. Or do a single shot with the envelope. Or both. And you can do the same with the PWM on the square. So when you start adding all these together, you start getting all sorts of madness. You've also got noise on the Minibrute. And the sub can be a square, a sine. You probably won't hear that unless you've got headphones on, and it can be 1 octave or 2 octaves below the main VCO. So you get so many more sounds than you'd expect from a single oscillator synth. But nothing that can compete from a sort of big, bold unison sound to the Stylophone. And this is where the Wasp starts falling behind the two of them, really. And the Wasp itself's $300 or £300, don't forget. So the same price as the Stylophone. And the Stylophone's obviously got all the CV ins and outs as well, which the Minibrute 2 does. So then bringing a second oscillator in with a different pitch, for example, we can do all these sort of lovely things. And that's without any distortion, it's just got a really raucous tone. Now I can do something like that on the Wasp. Again, that's got a lovely bit of dirt going on in there, hasn't it? Unfortunately, the Minibrute can't do that, obviously, because it's only got the single oscillator. So you can't have anything that's effectively playing two notes. But it's a fantastic synth if you need a tweakable synth playing live. It's really chunky and it's got so many controls on it. You can play the same riff over and over and just continually change it. It's absolutely marvellous. And really dirty as well. So they've all got their own sort of levels of dirtiness, haven't they? But the Stylophone, I think, wins from that perspective. Let's take just a quick look at the filters as well then. Should we stick it on a sawtooth? Just a sort of simple... Volumes keep on changing as well. So let's have a little play with the filters. I did mention in my WASP review, or my sort of walkthrough of it, that it wasn't self-resonant because it's 12 dB, and I got picked up a few times. And of course, you can get self-resonant 12 dB filters, but it's not self-resonant. If we turn off the oscillators, you can hear that. You can sometimes get really quiet sounds like that. I don't know if you can hear that. It's beautiful, isn't it? Sort of like droplets. But it's not self-resonant like this beastie is. Let's have a listen to this on low pass again. Watch your ears. If screeching analog filters is your thing, you can't beat the Stylophone. Let's have a look at the Minibrute on low pass as well. That's really nice as well, isn't it? So the Minibrute and the Stylophone have got a lot more sort of power, I think, in the filters. The Wasp's sort of gentler, but nice bit of dirt in there as well. The GenR8 seems to howl more, doesn't it? And you'll notice with all of them that you're not losing bass or you're not losing volume when you turn up the resonance. Just show that quickly. With a ladder style filter, you get that massive drop in volume, don't you? None of these do that, which is nice. Maybe stick this on a random as well. And just for the fun of it, let's do it over here as well. Filter. It's not the fastest of LFOs, that's as fast as it goes. Wasp. Much faster. And the Stylophone. Minibrute does have keyboard tracker now, the others don't have that. So you can sort of get a second oscillator. Using the filter. As I say, it's really flexible. And for some reason, you just want to sort of play it like a synth. Whereas anything, this you can't really play this as a synth because the keyboard's so weird. And the Wasp doesn't have a keyboard, obviously, does it? There's something about the Minibrute though. Every time you get close to it, you want to sort of start tweaking and playing and fiddling with it. It really reminds me of my Kawai 100F, and just the power you get from a simple saw is amazing. So I'd started using this as a bit of a live instrument to replace the Kawai 100F, which is sort of so old I don't like taking it out. And the Stylophone feels like a sort of tweakable, sort of acid machine almost. Feels a lot more electro. And especially with this delay, which is, as I say, it's based on an analog style, well, it's an analog style delay. And that's, you know, play that in a club, that's huge, isn't it? So really, you know, I like all of these synths. I mean, favourite of this year is definitely the Stylophone. I've got a real fondness for the Minibrute. Haven't made my mind up on the Wasp yet. I like it, it sounds nice, but am I going to keep it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure it brings too much additional to the studio, actually, because I do have an SEM filter and other things. But the Stylophone, there's nothing that could replace it. Minibrute has got all those sort of mad noises, but I'm not sure how useful they are to me anyway. And when I'm just doing a sort of basic sort of synth sound, I do have other synths that can do that, but I've got nothing that can just sound as beefy, powerful and as wild as the Stylophone. So I hope that was of interest. I don't think it's of use to anyone, but I hope it was of interest to somebody somewhere, and I'll see you next time.